Hello, everyone. It's been a while. We're back here on an off week, International Week, our favorite week of the year or every month, whenever there's favorite weeks. But we're here tonight. We have our open forum. We give voice to our listeners. So if you mind, or if you don't mind, come and join us. It'll be fun. That and much more. Another night, another podcast.
Hasta que no estás aquí dentro no sabes la grandeza de este equipo.
Quero o Benfica intimidar o adversário. Quero um manto sagrado entrar com vocês em qualquer instante e assustá-los, pá! É isso que eu quero!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Doll Benfica podcast. My name is Alfredo. Been a while since we've been here last. Sorry about that. A couple things that I needed to get to, but we're here today. We're going to open it up for everyone, for you guys that want to join us, want to say something, speak whatever's in your mind. We're here. We're here, and that's all that matters. So thank you very much for you guys that are going to listen to this or that are live. There's a couple of you already here in the chat. Let me say hello to the Freddies. Vamos embora was the first one in here. Jason Gaidola, Diogo Reis, Bruno Gil Rodrigues, Mike Simões, Nuno M, Diogo Reis. Diogo Reis says a Gala do Benfica podcast. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we're that fancy. At least neither Dave and I got the memo to wear our tux.
Our suits.
Yeah. What do you guys? There's the Gala do Benfica is obviously when, for you guys that don't know, is when the club really dishes out the awards. So there's several awards spanning most of or all of the modalidades, different athletes within the modalidade. But there's been something in terms of the fan base, right? Because the gala is not open to all the fans, right? It's by invitation only, and some fans feel that they're kind of left out, and that Benfica being a club of the people, perhaps the club should invite some fans. But again, with the invitation of inviting those fans, you open yourself up for possible outbursts by the fans of things that may not be happy. And certainly this is a year that things are not they are a little bit shaky. I wouldn't say they're bad, because if you look at the results, they're not bad, but certainly a lot of Benfiquistas, myself included, with the amount of money that we spent, the players that we went and got for the money that we got, right? Because one thing is to go get players, spend the money, and the players be worth that money, and another thing is spending the money and then you get a dud like Jurasek. So certainly this season has not gone according to expectations in terms of the way we built our roster, the depth that we have, the players on the bench. On any given game, you look at the players on the bench and you say, any of these guys can come in and make a difference or offer something to the team. But certainly in terms of results, in terms of gameplay, game flow, it hasn't been what we expected. So I'm hoping that in this last stretch of the season, and there's quite a few important games coming up in April, that we maybe we get a little bit of momentum and we crawl across that finish line. It's going to be tough because because the fans are just not happy. The fans are not happy. The team is not playing well. The team doesn't inspire in confidence. And that's for us fans that we've seen many times this type of season. We kind of fear for the worst, if you will, because with the team not playing as well as we expected, you're always closer to getting a negative result than you are winning. And with the Benfica DNA, we all know that, we want to win. We want to win. We want fat wins. We want a lot of goals, and we want to win with style. That's always been the Benfica DNA. I'm going to throw up, Cristiano's supposed to join us. I'm going to throw up the link here on the chat. So if you guys want to join us, there's no time. You could speak whatever you want to speak about. Obviously, just contain yourself. Let's be respectful at least, right? And let's have an educated conversation like all Benfiquistas should have. I'm going to put the link in the chat. So if you guys want to join us, more than welcome. No image, so it only be sound, so you could have your cameras turned off. So we'll welcome you guys, but just want to catch everyone up from the time that we were here last. I was just talking about it with Dave. Last time we were here was right before the Rangers game, because my notes said recap Rangers game, recap Estoril game, and then a look ahead to the Ibrox. And that was the last time we were here. So we got past the Rangers, as everyone knows, barely, right? 1-1 at Stade de Luge. Or actually, was it 2-1 or 1-1, Dave?
2-2. 2-2.
That's right, 2-2. It's such a long time ago that I forgot. 2-2. Then we went to Ibrox. We played a game in which the game plan supposedly was playing on a counter. We ended up hitting Rangers on a counter, and then we just controlled the game, and we came out of that. The draw was the day after we ended up drawing Marseille in the quarterfinals, right, Dave? That's quarterfinals now. Yep. Marseille, which was a very favorable draw considering who else was in the draw. But it is what it is. We got our first guest, José Rosario. Let's get him in here. Make sure everything's okay. Hello. There he is. Zé. Not a lot of people know you, but I know you from the shows that you've been in. You're also, if I'm not mistaken, a very big collector of Benfica jerseys. Is that right?
Yes.
There you go.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we could hear you.
Yeah. I just wanted to pop in. It's like 1:40 in the morning here in London, so I just want to say hello to everyone.
Yeah, that's right. For you guys that don't know Zé, he has a really nice collection of Benfica jerseys, retro jerseys. He also has a way of a really nice way of displaying the jerseys, if I could say that. And I think that when people look at your jerseys, everybody's very very jealous in terms of the collection that you have. I'm curious. We never spoke, so it's nice to meet you, and thank you for jumping in. But let me ask you this: what is your prized possession in terms of jerseys?
Yeah, it's hard because now I have way too many. So I have about 3 or 4 that I really, really like. So one of them is the 1965 final against Inter Milan from António Simões. So that's one of them. So I really like that shirt because it means a lot, and I had to go all the way to Rome to exchange the one that I had. So that has a nice story behind it. I also have an Eusebio one, which is very nice and very meaningful as well. So when he scored 3 goals in the cup final against Sporting, and then there's this famous picture of him being interviewed by the reporter, and he has the Sporting shirt that he exchanged with the guy that I got it from. So there's a couple of them. I love some of the white ones that I have as well. So I love the period from the shell one. So it's very hard. It's really, really hard to come up with them. And now that I have way too many. And every time I buy a new one, I just like, oh, I really like this one. So it's hard, but I have those 3 or 4 that I really, really love.
Yeah, let me ask you. Let me ask you
those are-
something.
yeah.
What did you have to trade for that Simões jersey?
So a shirt from Inter Milan.
Nice.
So for
From the same game? That's awesome.
Yeah, same game. Okay. So if you think about it financially, it's like I'm married to a financial professor, a finance professor. So it was not a good deal for us as a family, because the Inter shirt is worth more than the Benfica one, because they won the game, and
Right.
the market in Italy is a lot better in terms of value. It's a lot bigger than ours.
Yeah.
But in terms of emotional, and this is why, again, when people ask me, oh, what's the values of the shirts and whatever, obviously there's a monetary value to it, but the most important part of it is the emotional value, and knowing that it's used by one of our players. And because we love Benfica so much, it brings that different aspect of it that you can't put a number to it.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, in terms of for the folks that are listening to us and want to collect jerseys, is there a special way that you store these jerseys to keep them safe from humidity and dust and things like that?
So when I started collecting, I actually contacted the museum of Benfica to ask them if they had some kind of. So one of the things that they always say is, don't put it out to the elements or expose it to light directly, because specifically the red ones, they really don't like any kind of light. So if you have any light, it will have to be indirect light. So when I built my house and I had that way of showing the shirts, none of it has direct light, and all of the light that it's there, it's indirect light. If you want to store them, they should be stored individually. And if they has patches, you should have some paper that it's non-sticky that you put between the shirt when you kind of fold it. But the best way is always to have them fully extended in a place where there's no humidity, there's no bugs, and all of those things. So, but in terms of the size of your house, if you have, I don't know, 100 shirts, and if you want to put them like fully extended, it's going to take a really long. So I have mine in boxes and individual wrapped in bags that have no humidity, and they're sealed and all of those types of things.
So what if you're not embarrassed, or if you can reveal it, what's the number at these days?
So it's a hard question because I stopped counting. So
good answer. Good answer.
Yeah, no. But I'll give you. It's fine, and my wife knows it, so it's okay. So my guesstimate is that I'm reaching close to 300 now. So that's kind of my guesstimate. I think I should be about almost 300, 250 plus for sure. Yeah.
And
so
is that Benfica, just Benfica kits, or all other kits?
No. So the only thing I have made, these are the ones I'm talking about are the ones that count, which is Benfica. I do have some other ones that sometimes I buy so that I can exchange. So, for example, one of the things that I use, and some people ask me, how do I find some specific shirts? Is sometimes I'm lucky enough to be able to get, when I'm trying to buy Benfica shirts, sometimes might pop up a Porto shirt or a Sporting shirt. And what I do is I tell the Sporting collectors and the Porto collectors and say, this is the shirt I'm missing from Benfica. If you find me the shirt that I'm missing, I will trade you with this one. So one of the last ones that I got, one of the most rares that I got, white one from the 70s, I got it like that because I had a Porto shirt, which was very valuable. And I told them, look, I can only exchange it for this on that one. And someone found the one that I want. I just exchanged it. That's it.
Right. So what's the one that up until this day you're still chasing? Or really you just think about you just look at a shirt for the sentimental value, for what it meant for the period, and it said, I want that shirt? Or is that a specific one that you're missing from your collection?
Yeah, there's a couple. So one of them that so like I said, I love the shell period.
Yeah.
So I'm missing the 84-85 white version. So I only have the red one. So when we started using Shell as a sponsor in 84-85.
Yeah.
So I have the red one. I don't have the white one. And there's a couple of different options on that year that I don't have. So that's one that I'm missing. Another one that I really love is the 83-84 that we wore against Liverpool. So that's like the one that they just did a replica now that has
the pinstripes,
the one that just literally was released a couple of weeks ago. And then you have the old ones, which I'm missing a bunch of them, like the 50s. I have one from the late 50s. 40s, I have nothing. 30s, I have nothing. 20s, I have nothing.
Yeah, I would think those would be really hard to find.
Those have to be in a closet somewhere that someone's grandparents just left there and played for Benfica, and it's forgotten somewhere.
Yeah,
it's impossible to get
in an attic somewhere in a box next to some old photos.
You guys in the States, you hear about those stories all the time with those baseball cards that someone dies and they go to the attic and they found this massive collection of whatever. So that's kind of what we're trying to be lucky enough somewhere here in an attic.
Yeah, excellent. So tell us what's on your mind. What are you feeling about this Benfica?
So it's been a very difficult season this year because we actually had a good season last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, we started really well. There was all of the challenges when we sold Enzo, but we still managed to be champions. So this year we started with, okay, we sold a couple of people. Let's try and see if we get some good value for the people we got. And we didn't, you've mentioned. So all of the people that we wanted to get, the left back, we lost Grimaldo. We couldn't get anyone there. We lost Enzo. Kökçü was supposed to come in, but he's not playing like the 8 that we need. And in the center forward position is the same thing. So on that space was not good. It was not good. But like you said when you started, we're still there. We're still in the running. It's not looking good. I'm not the most optimistic person right now. I actually went to Ibrox,
nice.
And it was a great win, but it was poor football again. Really poor football.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Let's see where we're going. I'm not very optimistic about the rest of the season. But we do have to chase Sporting, and sometimes Sporting happens, and that's kind of
we had a hope for that.
My hope for that is that something is going to happen in the next couple of weeks. But my focus right now, and this is one of the things that I always like to talk when I'm in this type of podcasts, is to make people aware that it's really important not only to support the club at the games, but also to be in the general assemblies and to be more present. And you've mentioned the gala. Gala is completely left out for any of the members like us. But we need to kind of make our voices heard that we want a Benfica that it's more inclusive for all of the members and not just for the elites and those types of guys. So that's why always my message when I talk about this one is get people more involved, people to complain, people to ask about different things in a respectful manner, like you've mentioned. But we need to be more active about saying what we need Benfica to be and how we want Benfica to treat our members, not as a client, as a member. So
and for us that we're away from Portugal and we're not in Portugal day in day out, it's kind of difficult. And I think the biggest demonstration of our opinion that we could have is to vote when the elections come. We can't be present in the general assemblies, and oftentimes we're not present at the stadium, but certainly voting is how you make your voice heard. So I encourage everyone, if you're not a member, make yourself a member. It's not a lot of money. You can make your membership. They have special memberships for people that are outside of Portugal, and sócio correspondente, and that's cheap. And I think that's like $120, 120 euros a year, something like that. And when you go to Portugal, you get discounts on merchandise. If you go and buy a jersey, if you go and buy anything Benfica related, at the Benfica store, they always ask you if you're a member, and if you're a member, you get a discount. So it kind of pays you. It kind of pays you back. And for us that live here, live outside Portugal, and visit Portugal, whenever we go to the Benfica store, it's always a haul for us, right? We buy this jersey, we buy this polo, we buy this hat. So there's always a big haul for us, and to have that type of discount, you get some of that membership money back. So I would encourage everyone.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So I've been lucky enough for the last, because I live in London, so mine is a little bit different. But one of the things that I've spoke in the last last two General Assemblies when I was there in Lisbon was to try and tell them that there are also people that don't live in Lisbon, and for them to book the General Assemblies with more than the normal 10 days or whatever 15 days is, because then people can actually manage their schedule. And if they really want to travel, let's say you live in Braga, or you live in Switzerland, or even you guys live in the States, and you know that in the next 2 months you're going to have a General Assembly, you might schedule your flights just to make sure that you're there. The way we're doing it right now, and we will do it for it's not just the Rui Costa area, it's the Luís Filipe Vieira area, and it was even before that, because the statutes was like that, is that you only have to book it like 10 days before the actual date of the General Assembly. So those types of things really help us as members be more present if they do those things in advance. So that's something that I've been fighting, and every time I go there, I speak and I say that, because usually it's on a Thursday or on a Friday, then we have to fly. And then like someone like me is in London, I need to book the flights literally 10 days before, so it's going to be more expensive. So if those types of things connected what you're saying, which is first be a member, and then we remember, just make sure that you voice out some of the concerns of people that are not living in Lisbon next door to the stadium that can just go whenever they want. No, there's people outside the area of Lisbon that they want to be part of the process as well. So
yeah, exactly. Look, it's bad enough we try to plan our trips around what the Liga schedules.
Yeah.
Never mind General Assemblies. That could be a whole nightmare.
If we had a plan at the beginning of the year, and we know, okay, so the budget is in June usually, and then the accounts is in September, and we know that on that weekend for sure it's going to be both of them, one in June and the other one. And it's already there. If it's not on Saturday, it's on a Sunday. We can move things around. It's good for us, because we know we can't count on the football to be scheduled in advance. So now they're doing a little bit better. But still, it's like 2 weeks before. You can't travel for that. But at least our stuff that we can control, it will be good for all of us. But yeah, that's a fight we need to continue to go at it. So yeah.
What's your take on the audit that we're waiting for? Are you still waiting for, or you don't think we're going to see it?
So on the last General Assembly, we had the Vice President, Silvio Servan, pretty much saying that we went through the whole audit, everything is fine, nothing happened. Obviously, that was said and done after the members spoke. So it was very interesting that we all spoke twice. So I spoke twice, one of them about some problems we had with the shirts, and the second one to do an overview. And then once the members finished the overview, then that's when he went to speak and say, oh, by the way, the audit is done and there's no problems with it. And they didn't give us a chance to rebut and just say, look, what about the evidence? Can you show us what's happening?
Right.
So on their side, and what we see in the last report is that they've considered it done. So at the beginning, they promised that we're going to give access to the members and all of that, but it's done. Nothing happened. There was no problem.
It's that and the ongoing statutes of the club that were presented by a committee of fans, presented to the club. The club accepted them. The club said they were going to review, and please correct me if I'm wrong. But so far, we haven't seen anything in terms of the club setting forth or putting forth those statutes in place that were suggested by fans. I mean, after all, Benfica is owned by the fans. Fans own the majority of the club. So, but it's things like this sometimes that kind of rub you the wrong way when you're a fan and you dedicate so much time and so much effort out of your life to support the club, whether it's traveling, going to away games, whether it's buying that red pass and being at Stade Luz every other weekend. You know, there's a lot of investment, both on an emotional level, but also on a financial level, that you kind of feel that the club doesn't show any regard for the paying fans.
That's the process. So let's go from the beginning. So when we started in 2021, when they developed the new vice presidents, we have one vice president, Jaime Antunes, that has on his job role as a revisão estatutária.
Mm-hmm.
So the statutes, he's going to be the statutes person. Yeah. So then the process started in 2021. They've started quite quickly. So they've developed this commission, which it was the president was Jaime Antunes, and there was a bunch of people from different sides of the either from people that were in the Vieira campus, in the Rui Costa campus, Noronha Lopes campus. So there was, and also Servir Benfica. That started well. On the 20th of March 2022, the commission that was set up by the president of the commission delivered on the statute. So there was an option and said, look, this is what we'd worked on for the last 3-4 months, and here's our proposal. And then everything stopped completely. Yeah. So what happened was then the vice president and the management came and said, look, here's our proposal. We're going to hide the commission proposal on one side, and we're just going to release this one that you can just look at it, make some adjustments yourself as a member. And then we send out the proposals. I send out the personal one. Servir Benfica send out a couple. I know that lots of people send out. And right now we're just waiting for some kind of a calendar. And every time we have an AG, we just go there and we ask the president, say, look, what's happening? So this is definitely what's going to happen in June. So June, we're probably going to be on the 15th or 14th. We're going to ask again, what's happening with this? Are we going to do this? Are we not going to do this?
Yep.
So that's one. And then the other one, which is not, people are not so much aware of, is that usually in the history of Benfica, every time there's an assembly, I don't know, how do you say it in acta? How do you say it in English? The acta, which is
the
stuff that comes up.
Yeah, the acta is, I think it's we call it here like the minutes, right?
Minutes,
so somebody takes a record of everything that goes on, and it's the minutes. And as plain as it is, it doesn't sound as fancy as an acta, right? I'm sure there's a legal term that could be used.
There's a formal way.
Yeah, formal way.
So that one is another one that it's missing. So since the event that happened in 2019, where President Vieira assaulted one of our members live on the General Assembly, those minutes for every single one of the AGs from there have not been recorded and approved at the General Assembly, the next General Assembly.
Yeah.
So all of those have been promised that was going to be a day that's going to happen, and it hasn't been done yet. So that's 2019. Oof. So the only one that it's been ratified has been the Electoral Assembly. So there's a couple of those things that we need some transparency, and it would be really helpful if there was no silence around those things that might seem that are not important, but they're really important for us as a member to understand what's going on in the club. So those are the things that we feel that we should improve a lot. And we thought that we're going to get something different, but what we're having since 2021 is exactly the same thing that we had since 2003. So, so we're fighting the good fights.
Awful. It's just it's one of those things that you see certain acts that and positions that the club has taken, especially recently. For example, na espera de rotunda, where the club used to allow the fans to congregate and wait for the bus as the bus did the roundabout right before they entered the stadium. They got rid of that altogether, and little by little they've kind of been pushing the fans more and more away. We've often said here on the podcast that the club doesn't communicate well. Oftentimes they're very reactive in their communication rather than being proactive in their communication, and I think that sometimes hurts. And the fact that sometimes that the club stays mum on certain topics also leaves people to create their own narratives that are often fueled by what you see in the media, and the media that they put the news out. We know that the intent is to sell papers. It isn't always to reveal the truth.
Yeah, and clicks.
Right? Yeah, right. Clicks and sell papers, and I think that sometimes when the club is mum in terms of communicating with the fans, in terms of talking about refereeing issues right as they happen, not wait for a game that you lose to then come out and cry about a referee mistake. I mean, you look at the way Sporting communicates, the way Porto communicates, it's a lot different from us. And maybe a lot of people may say, well, but we're not crybabies, and we can handle everything that gets thrown at us. But no, that's kind of the game that you have to play. And when you don't play that way, you almost get taken advantage of.
Yeah, it's the context. You're right. So we have to understand what the context you are in Portugal. And if you're not playing with the same rules like the other ones are, you're gonna lose. And that's a really important point that you say. So, for example, the police part on the roundabout and everything. When we went to the General Assembly in June, like a couple of us asked about that. I specifically put that on my communication, and the answer is always that's police controlled, and we know it's not. No. We know that the police, if Benfica wanted to get the fans there, they would have the fans there. Right. So those silence for outside world, they're really, really not good for us. Because then you take your kids there, you want to be them close to the players and everything, and they're just being pushed away by police with the helmets and everything. So yeah.
No, definitely not a good look, and not a good look for a club that praises themselves as being close to the fans and being for the fans and owned by the fans and very democratic club. And we feel that oftentimes we're pushed away, and especially us that we live here. And as you mentioned, and you voiced your concerns in the AGs in terms of being more accommodating to fans in the outside of Portugal, because there are a lot of fans, and I think that the club sees that. I mean, they travel all over Europe, and everywhere they go in Europe, there's a big Benfica contingency. And granted, there's some people that travel from Portugal, but I know people that that went from Germany to Scotland, and England to Scotland, or in other countries within the EU, and to go watch the game. So the club knows that there's a contingent of Benfica fans that live outside Portugal, that love the club, that would love to be closer to the club, that would love for the club to be closer to us. And I think that we can't be any closer. I think it has to be the club that has to aproximarem-se de nós. And I think that
there has to be that commitment, which we don't see. What we're seeing right now is what you've mentioned, is they want you to go to the Estádio da Luz and make sure you go to the museum, make sure you go to the shop, and you spend. That's pretty much what we have right now, rather than having a real connection to, and specific for those segments, have specific strategies to attract and to provide different things for people that are out there. So if you're in the US, if you're on the East Coast, if you're 5 hours difference, or if you're in the West Coast, 8 hours difference, just have different types of communication for those segments. Have different things when you know that you're abroad, you remember that you're abroad. Every time, if you leave 8 hours away, just make them like you go to the stadium for free that time, and then you're a member. You can go to the stadium tour that time for free, or once a time for free, because you live freaking 8 hours away, and it's going to spend you $2,000 just to come. Stuff like that. It's very easy to communicate. And when you arrive to Lisbon, and you can go to a game or go to a specific thing that's happening there, you feel that you're nurtured, that they understand that you're different than the guy that lives literally 10 minutes away, and he's going to have the advantages because he's 10 minutes away, and who doesn't live close by will have their advantage because they live far away. Those types of things, they're not thought out, because all of us right now, unfortunately, are just clients. It's just like, come here, spend your money.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think that that there's not an approach by the club to make the club and the players more accessible. I mean, we often complain, the podcasters often complain that we don't have access to athletes, to have a short conversation with an athlete. They'll go on other podcasts and give other interviews outside, but for us, they're not available. And I know that there's I'm part of the Benfica Independent, and I know that
there's requests there.
There's
so
struggles.
The other day, for example, it was quite funny that we know, and this is another part of one of the first communications I did with the AG, I think a year ago, was also a part about that, about don't let those independent projects die, and don't let them not use the athletes at Benfica, because it's a really important part for us to just have a little bit of an idea of what people are doing. But the other day we saw Kika, which is one of our top female players.
Yeah.
She was on a podcast for Record.
Yeah.
So, and we also, Record, it's the beast, and CMTV and whatever, they're the worst. And then what we do is we give them specific access to our players, while the independent projects like you guys and other ones have zero access to anyone. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be worked on at the moment. I do think that all of those things are not competing priorities, and this is something that really upsets me.
Yeah.
Because like one of the things that I always say on the AGs when I went there, I'm always fighting for this, which is providing access to. So we have a massive portfolio of digital photos of all of our trophies have been photographed. Everything is in a central location, and us members don't have access to that. So I'm always asking, just give us access to that, because that's ours, and we want to have access to that. And what I hear always is, oh, there's no money, we can't do this now because we're doing other things. Those types of things are not competing priorities. We can definitely have access to athletes for podcasts. At the same time, we can be really, really buttoned up in terms of our games, and then Otamendi will not be worried about if one of the handball player comes to a podcast to give an interview, and they can still do their job easily. So it's fine. So those things are not competing priorities, and they have to open up more to the members. So that's always my type of thing, and they don't do it. So
I think it's and I could speak for myself, but I would if I ever had a chance to interview a player, I would never hold the interview in a manner that I felt would be disrespectful to the club.
Particularly us.
Yeah, particularly us, right? Because we crave that proximity. We crave to have that insight. We crave to speak to our idols, right? Because we watch them, we respect them, we idolize them in a way, right? But I think that we could do a lot better job in terms of publicizing the club if we had access to those players. But maybe that's not what the club wants.
Yeah. No, but that's not what the club wants. So the club doesn't even want the players, and they don't want anyone that is involved around the players as well. For example, they don't want to give us access to one of the players. It's fine. Give us access to a team manager, for example.
Right.
Give us access to the guy that takes care of the kids. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. But for us, it's more just let's have a way of being more embedded with the club and share some interesting stories, because we would never, and this is the love of our life, so we would never do anything to kind of do anything wrong with it. We just want to be closer and be an avenue to just share our love with someone that it's inside. So those are usually the best programs, where you have people that are fans like us, then just have a normal chat. But they don't see it like that, because it's like the gala you've said. They just want to make sure that they have this protective environment where everything is sealed, and they don't want to give any kind of emotion. And then what's going to happen is that one day, obviously, we're not going to lose the passion for Benfica. But if we continue, and we've seen this in the past, when Benfica loses, we have half of the stadium straight away there. So what we don't want is, if there's a spiral of bad results, that then people again what happened in 2005, 6, and whatever, where we have 15,000 people, 10,000 people. So we want to foster that while we're winning, so that then we have those people that are new members that want to come in, that continue to love Benfica and have a different experience. So that's what we want to provide. But I don't know. We're not going to get there with Rui Costa. We need to get another one there.
I can tell you, I didn't vote for Rui Costa.
I didn't vote for him as well.
I could, my vote was a blank vote, because I didn't like any of the candidates that were there. So it was a bit of a vote of protest, if you will.
It's fine.
Yeah, Bazé, it was a pleasure, my friend. I know it's late there. Fortunately, the hour has changed here, so there's only 4 hours between us and the rest of Europe, or at least the UK time and Portugal time. So I know but I know it's late for you. I appreciate it very much.
2 o'clock. No, I just wanted to come in and say hi to you guys, and just to say that I really support your work. It's been a long journey, and you were one of the first ones to do this. So I've been religiously listening to it. So I just want to say congratulations to you guys and keep up the good work.
I appreciate
and hopefully
that.
we'll see ourselves. We'll see in someday in Lisbon, somewhere in Benfica.
Yeah, and if I ever run into any rare shirts, I know who to contact.
Specifically the white ones.
Yeah, give the people your Twitter so people. I know that you post stuff oftentimes on Instagram. You got an Instagram, right? Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, but mine is very easy to. It's called Zé Pisa, which is it's Zé, which is my first name, and Pisa, which is my dad's last name. So Pissa. So Pisa as in in pizza.
And people thought that there was just that dirty name.
No, it's my dad's name, man. My dad's name was Pisa with 2 S's, and then my grandfather's name was Pisa with C with that little thing on the bottom. I don't know how to say it in Cedilha. I don't know how to say it in English.
Awesome, man. No, I appreciate you coming in, man. I certainly appreciate. Keep up the good work, man. I love watching your videos, and when you participate with Benfica Independent, I always love to watch that.
Perfect. See you guys soon. Yeah, have a good one. Yeah.
Take care. Bye, Zé.
Bye.
Cristiano's here. What's up, Chris?
Hey guys, how are you? First time, long time, all the time. Can't believe I'm on this show. It was due to the link. Thank you for allowing me in.
What's on your mind?
What's on your mind? Well, first of all, I'd be remiss if I wouldn't come on a podcast and send a big hug and kiss to my primo Dave up north. I know the last time the storms were the weather.
Chris, you could just say you were off your meds. You're off your meds.
It was the performance of the team. 2-1 and a 5-0 against Porto. That shit'll happen.
Yeah, tava coisa toda fluida, and I think a sign of maturity. Because again, at 20 years old, I would have said F you, but I'm a little bit older. As the guys keep stating, we're old. But I don't know if they're referring to me or the podcast. But at the end of the day, it fits both. It fits the criteria perfectly, whether it's myself or the podcast. But no, all jokes aside, I wanted to apologize to Dave. I was a little bit out of character. Not personal. Still love you. But I think it's a sign of maturity, and it's the correct thing to do to come out and start off with an apology to Dave. I hope tá tudo bem. But I'm glad to be able to join you guys today. I was sitting there listening, and then I said, man, let me join in. Let me jump in and say what's up. I'm trying to get the boys on the chat to click on this link. I did. And look, guys, I'm on. So if you click on the link, you'll hop on as well. And before you click on the link, click on the like button. Smash it.
Yeah, I know when it's the forum, you like to give time to people because you always take up so much of the time when you're on the podcast. So I know you kind of like to take a step back.
I don't know, Alfredo. That's a polite way. You're putting it politely. Ladies and gentlemen, Alfredo's just trying to be, politically correct. The truth is, he tells me, bro, don't even come on because let the people talk because you're not going to let anybody talk. So, Alfredo, that's just the truth. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking with Zé about transparency. Let's be transparent. Alfredo, take the day off. And today I didn't obey his orders, and here I am. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get fined at sometime during the week for this. But, Speak the truth, Alfredo.
Yeah, that's right. What do you call it? So it's like a taça game, early rounds, and Chris is on the bench while the subs are in. They're getting the play time.
Sou Di Maria, mas eu sou Di Maria, tem que jogar sempre. You know what I mean? But you're doing with me what Roger Schmidt should do with Di Maria, right? Those taça games, leave him on the bench instead of playing 90 minutes after playing in La Paz. But you're doing a better job of managing my minutes than Roger.
Yeah, we're trying to get everybody in. There's quite a few topics that I would love to hear people's take on it. We got the Kökçü situation. We got polarizing opinions in terms of Di Maria. You got the Roger Schmidt that continues to speak in a way that it almost feels like he thinks we're stupid. A few things. We got the
when I hopped on you and Zé, right? That's his name, Zé Pisa.
Yep.
Zé Pisa was talking about that he doesn't see any harm in Benfica allowing players to come on projects like ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And just putting myself on the other side, and I don't know if I should talk about this because it's something that occurred with me while I was working with Benfica here on the U.S. tour a few years back. But to put myself on their side, so a lot of times when they allow these players to do such interviews, there's always a team employee recording with their own phone. Nowadays, everybody's got an iPhone or even the Samsung stuff, the Android stuff, which you're whack, but you're entitled. But everybody's recording because, as we know, in Portuguese media and Portuguese journalism, or the newspapers at least, they like to spin things.
Yeah.
And so the club likes to have proof of what was actually said, as opposed to having the newspaper or whatever, the outlet, CMTV, twisting things, and all of a sudden now it starts a big commotion. So one of the reasons I believe that, that they don't allow, because they're not going to have people available at all times for the volleyball teams, the handball teams, and all this stuff. So that's one. I believe that that's part of their decision making. And, I could be wrong, but for those of you that are listening and, the guys in Portugal that have worked with the club and have PR relations experience, you probably know better than I do. If I'm misinformed, feel free to hit us up, Benfica Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, myself, Tencio10, Dave, 87the87, talking to the doll, whichever way you like to get involved in, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's some of that. And then the other thing is, as I mentioned, a lot of things just spun out of context. And to give you a little context into it, when I referring back to what I mentioned a few minutes ago, when I was with the club, as you can imagine, being Portuguese American, came to the United States when I was very young, and so that brought up a lot of attention by the newspapers. They all wanted to interview me because now here I am, kid that came to the United States young, and here I am in a position with Benfica in the locker room with the players. So the newspapers wanted to interview me, and I didn't have to let anybody know at the club, because again, I wasn't hired by the club. So I could have done whatever I wanted on my own, but I did. I'm not going to mention any names, but I did speak to people at the club, and I said, look, just so you know, give me a heads up. Newspapers want to, get my side of the story, give, what's it like to give my experience, dream, the whole situation. And people at the club said, look, you're entitled to do what you want. At the end of the day, you're under no obligation towards us, but just keep in mind that you're privileged to a lot of information and practice that the outside world doesn't see. And anything you will say will be spun or will be taken into a different context. And so, like, at the time, there was two new strikers. There was Castillo, who's now, by the way, playing at Portland, I believe. They just bought him from America. And Ferreira, if you remember, and I believe those were the two strikers, right? Oh, no. Rodriguez is the one that's now at Timbers. It was the kid we bought from America. Yes, there was three. It was three different. The two new strikers was Ferreira. I know that for a fact. And then the other one was Castillo, who Benfica bought from America. And now this Jonathan Rodriguez, was already on the team. He was on the B team. And then, but long story short, Jonas was still on the team, as you guys know. And so the club was like, look, if they ask you which one's your favorite, and you just innocently say Castillo, they're going to think it's because of something you saw at practice. And now, therefore, they're going to write up a story about Castillo was in the lead to be the starter. So, just, again, you're entitled to do what you want, but keep in mind that whatever you say could be misconstrued as whatever. So I took it upon myself as being a Benfica. And again, I could have been selfish and said, F you, let me get my name out. And I am an attention-seeking whore, as you guys know. I have no problem in saying that. But I took it upon myself to not stir up any feathers, keep things calm, and I chose not to do it, right?
Yeah.
But again, I got a lesson right then and there that things could be spun out of control. And so I believe that, as much as I would love to have access to all these players and have them on the podcast, again, there's a million podcasts. I mean, they would have, and again, I do believe that the club should recognize projects like ourselves. I mean, we've been doing it for years, and I do believe that. But at the same time, I understand it, because think about the requests they would have, and then how would they approve? So they would approve yes to Benfica podcast, but no to Benfica FM, for example. What would be the criteria? So it just muddles the field. And so I kind of understand. I don't like it. Like I said, I wish we could have access, but I understand somewhat. And so, it's easy to sit here criticize the club, but put yourself in their shoes. They have millions of requests. How would they go through all that? You know what I'm saying, Alfredo? And then the other thing is, I love you, but I disagree with something you said to Zé when you said that, we're not going to perjudicar the club in any way. We're not going to ask anybody. Speak for yourself, my man. You know me. I like to ask the tough questions. So I think it fits, and I'll be quick. I'll be quiet after, because like you said, I take up too much time. But I think if it's to massage the players' balls on here, I mean, that's at the same time is doing it a disservice, right? To bring the players on and just, oh, yeah, you're great. Phenomenal. Roger Schmidt is great. I mean, but I don't even want to talk to you. I want to be able – obviously, I'm not going to put you under pressure. I'm not going to ask you questions that could lead you to get suspended. But at the same time, there's questions I think at times need to be asked.
Yeah, but –
and so if it's to be one of those, softball questions, let them go on Benfica TV. They do plenty of that already, aren't they?
But I think that especially guys that are more intelligent and more grounded, I should say, and the guys that have podcasts, right? Because there's all types of personalities. There's guys that are not afraid to broach any topic. For me, I would be as respectful as possible. Obviously, there's some probing questions that you want to ask, but nothing that you're unearthing some kind of conspiracy or some kind of a problem between a player and a coach. I think that there's a lot of questions that the fans would like to hear about in terms about, who's the funniest guy in the locker room? Who's the guy who's the best dressed guy? Like shit. And I know that maybe the best dressed guy is not a question that I would want to ask, but certainly there's a lot of little trivial information that people would love to know. People would love to have an insight in terms of the player's personality off the field. Right? We get an insight with their documentary that they did, that they had on Beat Play last year, and it was it was good. It was good to have that insight in the background of how the team operates, but it's still very much doctored and edited in a way that is just to consume. It gives you insight, but it's really
okay. But Alfredo.
Yeah.
Alfredo, as you very well know, and Dave knows this too because he's in Toronto, in the Canadian media capital, right? And Dave, correct me if I'm wrong here, but to have at times, Alfredo, to have players come on and just give you a bunch of cliches because this is what they're taught to do, right? I mean, do you really need a player to come on and say, yeah, it's great to play for Benfica? That's what you need? I mean, you know what I'm trying to say, Alfredo? I'm not questioning what you're saying, but in terms of like Zé Rosario was saying, I understand Cristiano, but the club is massive and has lots of different teams and people working with teams. To be honest, I would prefer to have the girls from futsal or handball or basket. Doesn't have to be football senior team. We just need some opening from the side. Start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes, he's right. They might give you more because the spotlight is not on them as much. You might actually get more out of a volleyball player than you will of the senior men's team. The men's team, the guys are going to give you a bunch of cliches. Dave, that's how it is in Canadian hockey, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, but not to pump our own tires too, but when we got Keaton Parks, he was he still affiliated? Was he on a loan?
No.
But
No,
we
he
didn't.
was already
done.
when I went to CFC.
Okay.
He was.
Yeah, but we didn't throw him under the bus, or we didn't throw any you questions either, right? We had a good conversation with him. We maybe tossed up some easy questions to him, but I think we have a good understanding too. We don't want to tarnish any images or burn any bridges with the club either, right? So
yeah, and
we've already got.
Yeah, you're right, but Dave, imagine.
But even the
imagine.
Even the players themselves wouldn't say anything to bury the club. Let's just say that.
Sim, you're right.
Voilà.
But 1 second.
Fala lá que tá aí o...
Well, you can't say that, Alfredo.
Hugo's ready.
You can't say that. Hold on. You can't say that, Alfredo, because Kökçü just did an interview where he buried the team. So don't say the players were buried.
But
you're right.
There's got to be more to that.
But hold
There's
on.
got to be some sort of hidden agenda.
No, but Dave, real quick.
And that's calculated.
You mentioned the Keaton Parks interview, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other, but Keaton Parks wasn't at the club.
Right.
He's a personal friend of mine, and Alfredo's met him. He's a great guy, one of the nicest guys, if not the nicest guy I've ever met in sport. And I've met a lot of people. I'm fortunate, but that's besides the point. Imagine having, throw a name out, Rafa, after the 5-0 loss at Dragão. Are we gonna be there like throwing them softball questions? I mean, just maybe we will, but some other project in Portugal might not. You get what I'm trying to say? We had Keaton Parks on the friendly conversation. Imagine me.
Yep.
Look what I did to you, right? Which was not your fault, and my fault, and it's my fault, and I took responsibility. I was an idiot, and I was just overreacted. But imagine now, I'm talking Rafa, caralho, então estás à frente da baliza, não faz caralho.
Yeah. So how does the club filter and decide on where they get to
exactly
to go,
my
right?
point exactly?
Well,
that's my point exactly.
I think that there needs to be some ground rules that are we'll give you this player, but here's the rules. You got to stay
Alfredo,
within these rules.
Imagine what's his name, Francisco Benitez, right? The guy that ran against Rui Costa, and he's got a project, right? He's got a now. I mean, again, like I said, if they accept him to one project, they gotta accept the request by another project, right? Because, like I said, how do they filter the request? And now he's on there. You think a guy that ran against Rui Costa is going to care that he's affected? And again, you know what I'm saying? So it's very sensitive, and I hate to be defending the team on this side because I totally agree with you guys. I feel that, as people are saying in the chat, and I've said this to you in private, Alfredo, I feel like a lot of us, the team treats us like customers. They don't allow us close to the rotunda with the club. I feel like everything is about just get our money and keep it moving, right? Yeah. And I do feel that pain as a fan myself. But at the same time, there's also the other side that you have to think about. So it gets very messy, man. And so I don't know how to go about it. They should allow them on some projects.
Deixa lá falar
right? And like you said,
o Hugo.
Para falar desses guys, you might as well go embora.
Hugo.
Good evening, my friends.
There he is.
Esses guys nem benfiquista é esses guys, bro.
Grande abraço aos meus amigos, Alfredo, Dave, and well, not the other guy. Chris, grande abraço, meu grande amigo, Chris, bro.
Yeah, stop kissing up. You're just trying to get me to buy you coffee. Don't kiss up. Say what's on your mind. Let's go.
What's happening?
What's up, guys? No, listen, to be completely honest with you, I haven't been paying attention, so I don't know where
anything that's on your mind. You don't have to, what wakes you up in the morning and you say, fuck, this Benfica something.
I could get him started if you want, Alfredo.
No.
Go ahead, Chris. What do you want me to get started at?
I don't listen. I'll tell you not to start with the pedrada. Don't start with none of that, bro.
Alfredo will boot me out of here.
I know. Don't start with aggression.
Tens o coração cheio de ódio, Hugo. Tens o coração cheio de ódio.
Listen, for all the listeners here that don't know me yet, I love Sport Lisboa Benfica with a passion, and I hate Porto with the same passion. And me and Alfredo go at it sometimes in private. Not so much with Chris, but I told him already many times that until Benfica matches that Porto hatred in these head-to-head confrontations, we're going to see results like that every 15 years. It pains me to say it 3 weeks ago we had to go through again.
Yeah.
So you were gonna ask me what's bugging me?
Yeah,
that's still bugging me. 3 weeks later, I still sit here and I shake my head.
Yeah, now imagine Hugo being part of our project, and we're granted an interview with Rafa. Who got along? The first question. That's it. They cut us off.
Yeah.
No, listen. The first person I'd want to speak to is the president. That's that. After something like that, that's the guy I'd want to speak to, first and foremost. Yeah. So, but whatever. Listen, let's not dwell on
what would you say? Go ahead. Let's get it started. What would you say, man? People want to hear what you got to say. At least I do, and Alfredo and Dave.
What would I say
Alfredo já te mandou a missa, but you didn't go.
So
let us know. Yeah. You said the first thing you do is talk to him. So what would be the first thing on your agenda if you had an opportunity to sit down and talk.
You know what I would say.
I know, but the listeners don't know. Let's go.
Oh, okay. I would ask him, how is it possible that, Benfica's Porto's bitch every fucking year? Every year. Literally, we are Porto's bitch. And it's unacceptable. I think it requires a reflection within the club as to what's going wrong. Like, clearly, I mean, we've sat on here in the podcast, even myself before. Clearly, it's a psychological thing. But how do we fix it? How do we fix it going forward? Like, clearly, that club is in our heads. They come to Luz, they win. We go there, we get blown out. Like, this is over and over and over again. And and we got blown out by a mediocre Porto. A mediocre Porto.
Yeah.
I mean, it's embarrassing. So I would raise the question, like, what are we doing internally to fix this? Because I think it's much more than the football pitch.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast, and I haven't finished it yet, called Mata Mata, and it's the podcast that Guillermo is
you
on.
go fit perfect.
You should go check that out. They have Vilar on there, which is that dude that's on CNN. The dude that said that Marcos Leonardo is not going to score, and he caught all kinds of flack because of that. But he really gives an interesting perspective in terms of the culture of the club, the posture that a coach like Roger Schmidt should have in terms of understanding the history of the club, understanding the culture of the club, knowing the fans base, and knowing how to speak to the fan base. Like for example, and we run into these examples all the time when he says that a tie against Estoril is a good result. For Benfiquistas, that's so hurtful. It's hurtful.
With all due respect, I never heard of this podcast. You never told me about it, right? But what's his name? Campos? Ramos, what was his name? The guy's name?
Luis Vilar.
Okay. Alfredo, with all due respect to Vilar, right? Whether he's got some of his projections wrong or right, that's besides the point. But, no es por nada. He's not saying anything that we, at least here on this, I mean, I can speak for ourselves, right? Me, you, and Dave on a regular basis. He's not saying anything that we haven't said over the years, right? And the question I have is, why is it that we're all aware, us, Vilar, Ramos, Pinto, Souza, whatever the fuck it is, why is it that we're all very aware of this, but somehow the message is lost inside the club?
Yeah,
that's the real question.
Well, and I think that he addresses some of that. I mean, if you got, I know Cristiano, you don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but if you guys have time, go and listen to that, because he has and I'm in like 38 minutes deep, but he has an interesting view in terms of the background stuff, right? In terms of the players that Benfica went and spent a shitload of money for, and who's responsible for, who answers, whose head is going to roll the fact that Jurasek was a major bust. So he gives a certain perspective in terms of how clubs treat their fans and how clubs work on the background and internally. I'm really enjoying it. I don't always agree with this.
What's this called? Mata Mata?
Mata Mata.
M-A-T-A?
Yeah. Do you know that dude that...
is it on Spotify or...
You can watch it on Apple? YouTube, and it's on Spotify if you want. You know the dude that does the videos? Guillermo, what's his name, Dave? Do you know?
Yes.
Guillermo Cabral.
Guillermo Cabral. Yeah. That he's three dudes, and he's one of the dudes, and Vilar was on it this week. So it's
I stopped following him on Instagram because I reached out to him 10 years ago to join our podcast, and he never responded to me. So I unfollowed him.
He's too good, man. Maybe he was preparing for this podcast that they did. So
I just think also, with all due respect to a lot of those people in Portugal, and a lot of our Benfiquistas are guilty of this. Like, everybody's so worried about the club's finances and what we're like, guys. Like, Benfica is a money-making machine. Literally, like, this football club is self-sustainable if it's run the right way. Like, I think we all dwell on too much. Like perfect example, right? I've had conversations with Benfiquistas about everybody's so worried about, like, can we sack Schmidt? Of course we could sack Schmidt. Like, people are so worried about a potential release clause, right? So, hear me out. Like, he has 2 years left on his deal, right? Like the way that world
No,
works.
Three, Hugo.
It could even be
You had
4 or 5.
1+1. You had 1+1, and then it was extended by 3 more. Correct, or am I wrong?
Fair,
Two,
fair.
I
But what
think.
I'm trying to say is the way that, and Chris, you know this, the way that world works a lot of
I know.
times is you sack the coach. It doesn't mean you're going to pay out his contract in full, right? You
Nope.
have agreements like, hey, I'm paying you until you get a job. I'll even cut the difference if you don't make as much. Like that's how that world works. Like there's agreements made. So like people need to, just chill off a bit on numbers and just really focus on what we should be focused on, which is on the pitch, which is what our
Bro,
hobby is, right? Our hobby is following the club. Our hobby is following the club on match day. It's not so much all that other stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
Hugo, you're talking about people that if tickets aren't at $10, they complain, bro. I mean,
Chris, it's a different reality. We have to
That's
respect
also part
that.
of the
No,
that's
but
also part of the problem.
one of the things that he also said that I'm remembering now is that the best the club was ever run, Benfica, in the past 50 years, was by a Sportingista that knew shit about football. And as obviously he's talking about Domingos Soares.
Luis Vieira, as pedras da calçada.
No, Domingos. He said that he was the real force behind running the club, getting it back to Domingos Soares Oliveira. Domingos Soares Oliveira.
Oliveira. No, Domingos Soares is the referee.
Yeah. So, but he has an interesting take. I recommend you guys go check that out. Hugo.
Yep.
What are your thoughts for the rest of the season, man? Expectations for the rest of the season? Do you think it's going to be suffering and see if we could inch out Sporting at the end of the year, or have you given up hope?
No, I haven't given up hope. I mean, I don't think any of us have given up hope, because at the end of the day, we're still there in front of the TV watching the game, right? I think, obviously I want what you guys want, right? We want Benfica to win everything, but realistically, with the way the team is playing, the way the team is being poor, and listen, I'll be the first one I'm in shock with how poor Schmidt has been this season, because we saw how good he was last season, and how can this guy do a complete 180 in months' time? Like I've asked myself this question, and with a very strong squad, but the way the team is being poorly managed, like I don't foresee anything positive happen. I hope I'm wrong, obviously. But honestly, the season lies within these next 10 days, right? You got a big game Friday, you have to win, right? And then then you're on to Tuesday, and can we overturn this second leg?
Yeah.
Which to me, it's crucial that Benfica advances to the Jamor. And then going into Alvalade, like historically, right? I said before, we were Porto's bitch. Unfortunately, it pains me to say that. But the other end of the spectrum, Sporting's our bitch.
Yep.
So if there's ever a ground that we're confident going into, it is Alvalade, right? But I just look at the way both teams have been playing. And listen, at the end of the day, like us football people, like we know football has no logic, right? Sometimes you're coming in as a big juggernaut. You could throw all those stats out the window the minute a derby or a classic rolls around. So listen, but the season lies within these next 8 to 10 days.
You can only win one. Tuesday or
you need
Saturday?
to win both. No, Chris.
No.
Listen.
But if you have to choose.
This is my podcast. I do what I want. I ask the questions. If you could only win one, okay? You play by my rules here. Isto aqui não é chamadas telefónicas. Isto aqui é show sério. Could only win one. Tuesday or Saturday?
Oh, this guy, bro. These não é perguntas que façam benfiquista, bro. I want to win both. That's it. I want to win everything. A benfiquista has to think like that. And whoever doesn't think like that, no way the Benfica, bro. That's not the Benfica I grew up on.
We're trying to make things in. Now you know why you never come on the podcast. You don't follow the rules, bro. Follow the rules. You can only win one, bro. That's all I'm asking.
If I have to pick,
bro.
If I have to pick one, I pick the league fixture, right? It's got more weight. You direct spot into the champion. Obviously, that one's a bigger fish. But I also don't want to bow out of the cup, especially look who's on the other side, fourth, right? We bow out of the cup. those guys are probably lifting another cup.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I mean? Like,
you want
I
to
don't
set you
look
want
at
to
that.
set up another matchup with them?
I want revenge against those
Well,
punks. I really do. I really do.
I'm not
If there was-
interested in that type of revenge, bro.
Yo, listen, I could tell you guys, if you ever want to see Benfica go in head to head against Porto with the same, you need to hire Hugo Ferreira into that locker room 10 minutes before kickoff. And I'll have these guys riled up to go to go knife in between their teeth against these guys.
Bro,
Man.
I can't remember last time that somebody shined some boots and gave players some motive. Vai embora, vai-te embora.
I just, it's mind-boggling to me, man.
I know,
Listen,
bro. I know.
like,
You and 6 million other fans would love to give that pre-game talk.
Listen, Hugo, before you go, Hugo, I just have one thing to say to you. A wise man once said, "Ooh, vai a missa." All right.
o Padre Alfredo. O padre...
Carrega, man. Thank you, Hugo. Thank you for joining us here on the podcast.
Só tens ódio nesse coração, pá.
It is Easter week, bro. Vai a missa, man.
I know. Só tens ódio, man. You need to get rid of some of that hate in your heart, bro.
Yeah,
no,
Alfredo, I'm
not
gonna say
healthy,
something.
I have
Alfredo,
hate
I'm gonna say something that you don't
inside
know,
the four
Alfredo.
lines. I have a lot of
But are
friends.
you? But hey, before you go, Alfredo, I'm gonna say, don't sconto Hugo. I'm gonna say something that you don't know, Alfredo, and I'm pretty sure the listeners don't know. And the only reason why I put up with this guy, he's my boy, but I put up with him, his craziness, is because his great grandfather actually played for the club.
That's right.
Was played in the 50s, played for the club, was played on the main team. So this guy's a little sick. He's known ever since he was a little kid. He's known around the neighborhood as Hugo Benfica. Even well, maior benfiquista nas Américas, porque sou eu. But you know, he's known as Hugo Benfica, and his grandfather played for the club, so he gets a little discount. He's allowed to be a little crazy once in a while.
I was baptized into this Benfica world ever since I can remember, and all the stories. My great grandfather had stories. My great uncle played in the Benfica reserves in the 60s and 70s. So like this is like long family history. And listen, what we see a lot of times on this, it's not the Benfica that I was raised on, and not the. And listen, we've come a long way, right? I was born in '87, so I remember the Vietnam years. And listen, kudos to the club. We've turned that page, right? And hopefully, we never go back to that era. So like we're a little spoiled right now, even. But man, like I don't know, man. Every time I see us go head to head with our biggest rival, it just pains me. It's just 90 minutes of pain.
I hear you, bro.
You know, it's every year, and it just bothers me.
Atenção, just because your grandfather played for the club, don't mean you understand shit about football.
Foda-se, não diga isso. Não sejas mal.
But nah, all jokes aside, Hugo, thank you, man. Appreciate you joining us here on the podcast, man. You're a valued listener, along with all the Freddies in the chat. Appreciate the support. Even though Fortes Macavessa every Wednesday morning, it's welcome.
Why Wednesday mornings? What's the
day after the podcast? Tuesday nights is a podcast, and Wednesdays he comes. He calls me to correct me and tell me what he agrees and disagrees with what I said.
Tá bom.
So normally he's my critic.
That's good, man. You don't have to. You don't have to listen to the podcast. You have your own critic.
No, I listen. Number one, I have relationships with you guys, right? Yeah. And then number two, you know, all of our hobby is Benfica, right? So whatever Benfica content we can get, we throw on. A lot of times I'm driving to work, driving home, and I'm listening everything Benfica related. That's just Benfica's our religion. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So the more content, the better. And you know, you guys do a great job. And
thanks, man.
Thank you guys.
All right, you go. Take care, bro.
Later, guys. Have a good night,
bro. You too. Bye. Who else? Josh, you're up, Josh. Get in here, man. Don't be afraid to talk to us. Chris is a big star, but Dave and I are not. We're down to earth people. Chris is a VIP. Chris is a VIP.
Yeah. Nem na minha casa sou VIP, bro.
Yeah.
What are while we're waiting for Josh here, what are you guys' thoughts on the Kökçü drama. I think we kind of
We'll
alluded
get
to it.
we'll get Josh's opinion. Josh is coming in right now, so we'll start Josh off. We'll set him up with a nice one. The Kökçü, get his take on Kökçü. Josh, what's happening? Welcome. There he is. Welcome. What's happening, Josh?
How's it going, guys? Viva Benfica. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
I'm trying to get my video in here. I can't.
No, don't worry about the video, man, because the video sometimes it screws up the audio if you don't have a fast enough internet connection. Okay. So the audio is fine. But we saved this one for you. Thoughts on this whole Kökçü situation?
Guys, I'm gonna have to call you guys because this audio is a little bit screwed up on my end.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine on our side.
The audio.
It's fine on our side, but if you want to log out and log back in, it's fine.
Okay, let me know. Let me hear it. And I want to say good night to everybody here. And I'm happy to be on. I was a little bit nervous, but you guys are cool guys, so let's get into it.
Dude, nervous for what, bro? We've been talking forever. We've been virtual Twitter friends for the longest time. Yeah, man. So what do you think about Kökçü, man? I know
you guys hold a special place in my heart.
Oh, man, I appreciate that, man. What are your thoughts on Kökçü, the Kökçü situation?
I couldn't believe it when I saw it. When I saw the news outlet come out, I was kind of shocked, in all honesty, just because we gave him the number 10. And that's a sacred number for us. And the fact that we gave him that, obviously it shows a little bit of trust that we have. And same with Kökçü. The Kökçü is not going to give it to a guy sem está por nada, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously, Kökçü has good qualities, breaks lines really well. But the thing that kills me is that he's a liability defensively. And then all of a sudden you see this outlet come out and you're just like, this isn't real. It's almost like a Ronaldo, what he did to United, right?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, the next day, you know, Roger Schmidt comes on and he says what he has to say. I thought that maybe he would already watch it, but Roger Schmidt wants us to kind of, feels like, you know, we're payasos sometimes.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the whole Kökçü thing, it really grinded my gears. And I think he had a good response, but I think the damage is done. Yeah. I think he deserves a couple whistles. I think he deserves a couple pressure because that Camisola has piz, and I don't think he understands that. So that's kind of where I stand as a Benfiquista. I haven't really seen that in a little while, and just when he did that, I was shocked because the number 10 at Benfica is a big deal.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. It's a shirt that's heavy, that weighs. I think that the timing is horrible. First of all, in terms of what he said, his statements, I think that there has already been some conversations internally in terms of his displeasure. He certainly didn't have to put it out. But I think that the biggest thing is that right now he's put Benfica in a difficult position, right? Because if it was somebody that cost $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, he's gone. He never puts on a Benfica jersey. But a guy that cost the money that he cost, Benfica isn't just going to open their hand and say, all right, well, you're unsettled here. Here you go. Look, there's a lot of things that go on in the background that we don't know about. I don't think what he did was right. The timing was shitty, as I mentioned. Those are things that get handled. We also don't know what was promised to Kökçü. Certainly the number 10 jersey was something that was look, you're going to wear the number 10 jersey, you're going to be able to dictate this and be the maestro in the midfield and play in a similar role that you played at PSV. But the truth of the matter is that from the PSV games that I saw, it doesn't look like he's playing anywhere close to that position. So I can understand the frustration on his side. Certainly, we've all had our questions in terms of how Roger Schmidt is managing this squad and the level of talent that he has available to him. But it as a Benfiquista, you can't believe it. It hurts. It hurts to hear something like that from a player that costs so much money and is yet to prove any bit of that money that we spent for him. So,
No, that's very true. And if you look around the starting lineup, like how do you think Osners feels? How do you think Marat feels sometimes, you know? Like these guys are playing out of position as well. I think he should have just looked at that and said, hey, man, Benfica is bigger than me.
Yeah.
Let's just go where I have to go. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. He did what he did. And now I'm just hoping that when he returns on the pinch, it's going to be positive.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. But Kökçü is not the only one that we've seen not pleased with everything that's going on. Last game, we saw a reaction from Cabral also, which didn't seem too pleased.
Alfredo, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was looking for like an opening here to jump in, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we, as you said, we're all speculating here. I know we're not fans of what happened or what he said, but we don't know what conversations have gone on in the back room. What we do know for a fact, right? And again, we can just talk about what's out in the open and what we know, what we've been able to witness and gather information on, which is, I mean, he is not the first player this season to come out and speak out. It doesn't make it correct, but he's not. To me, what it shows and what it means is that there is some type of disconnect, whether it was players' girlfriends, which again, a girlfriend or a wife doesn't come out on social media. You know, it happens at times, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, they're coming out and they're voicing the displeasure because the husband, the boyfriend, the player has himself voiced that displeasure and vented to them at some point. And so there's something there in the locker room that these players aren't aligning with. And again, it's what, the third, fourth player that has done that this year. And the other thing is, to me, look, man, I understand everybody wants to kill Kökçü. I don't know, man. I don't know how to feel about this, to be brutally honest with you. At the end of the day, these guys get paid to play.
Yeah.
And you fine them, a big fine. And tell them, sit your ass on the bench, do what the fuck I tell you to do, and keep it moving. Right. And that's the way I think you attack this. As far as suspending them and not playing them and all this crazy shit I've heard, that suspend them for the rest of the year, what do you get out of that? All you're doing is like losing value in a chip that you pay 25 to 30 million for. At the end of the day, you want to maximize the value, play them, fine them, because at the end of the day, the players want to play, and that's how you affect them, right? Affect them in their pocket. They want to play them out there, go into their bank account, and Benfica has the means, and I'm pretty sure if it goes to trial, they have the grounds to say he was unprofessional on his part. So, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's
there's rules and regulations that the club has to go by and the players have to abide by. There's penalties for certain infringements of those rules. So I think that the club takes care of it internally, but nonetheless, you're right, Chris. I remember Neres's wife or girlfriend at some point voiced their displeasure that
Moratu
voiced their displeasure that he was on the bench.
And we saw Cabral with the middle finger. I mean,
we saw Cabral, which
I know that was more.
Wasn't João Vitor as well?
João Vitor, there was
another
situation.
So and then Lacodimos wasn't too happy with Roger Schmidt.
Right.
Apparently, they got into a discussion. So I mean, I'm not justifying what he did, and I'm not saying it's okay, but there is history there, man, and something maybe the message is being lost, as you said. We don't know what he was promised. You know, I mean, Josh, I understand your point, but at the end of the day, whether it was number 10 or number 26, it doesn't make a difference. You know what I mean? At Benfica, it's all about the promises that they made to these guys. Hey, look, at the end of the day, the one thing I could sit here, in my honest opinion, is this is another error in casting, right? We've seen this guy play. We know he's not a 6. They've said that they identified him once Enzo left as his Enzo replacement. That's not the position he plays. I don't think that's where he's best suited. Same thing with Jurassic. We could keep going on, and it's just error after error in casting, and I hope that gets rectified going into next season.
I'm surprised that he hasn't lost the locker room, but I think I know why he hasn't lost the locker room, and I think it speaks a lot to the guys that have weight in that locker room that could.
They don't get off the field.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And they're happy, and they keep everybody in line.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Because really, Kökçü is an outcast. You know, Murato's too young. Neres is somewhat of a fringe player. He's not part of that group that's been there for quite some time, right? We're talking about Joe Mari, we're talking about Rafa, just to name a few. But I think that by now, with all these outbursts that we've seen from players and players' girlfriends and wives, I'm surprised that locker room is still together. But it speaks to his favorite players and the weight that those players have in the locker room to keep everyone in line. Josh, one last one for you.
Yeah.
Are you done with what's minimum for Roger Schmidt to win this year in order for us to keep him? Or are you of the opinion that at the end of the season, regardless of whether he wins any titles, he's gone?
I feel like right now we're in pretty deep waters depending on which results we get. Obviously, I would love to keep with the league, but in my opinion, we need to win something this year or it's a bust, in my opinion. He's got a lot of pressure, and I feel like I haven't seen the same Roger Schmidt as last year at the start of the season.
Yeah.
I feel like things have kind of been watered down, to say, and we need a Taça. Bare minimum, and like even if we were to get, I don't know, Taça Portugal, that would be great. But I mean, we've had a lot of problems within our plantel too, and players not playing where maybe they should play. And obviously, us as Benfiquistas, we don't get paid for this to tell the players where they're going. He does, but we're making these decisions, and we know who should be playing, who shouldn't be playing sometimes. So I feel like he has a lot of pressure. He can really change things if he gets a nice run this week. I mean, things can change, but I'm kind of a Roger Schmidt fan, but the way he speaks, but then again, I don't know, man. I think he needs to win a Taça for sure. I'm sorry if I was kind of all over the place there.
Josh, you think winning a Taça Portugal salvages the season after
it's
such
something,
a huge
Chris.
investment
It's
this
something.
offseason?
No,
I don't. I'm not
but I just
questioning
think
him. I'm just asking. You know what I mean? I'm trying to start a conversation. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just asking his opinion. That's it.
I don't think it salvages, but I think it gives him a little bit of an argument. I feel like Rui Costa loves him so much. So I feel like Rui Costa will put that in our face and say, like, we want to toss, we believe in him, and kind of the same spiel as last year. But definitely some frustrations with him, 100%. We have a big plantel, and I feel like sometimes we get it wrong. Like, I feel like Marcus Leonard playing against Rangers, like, I don't think he should have been playing just because we needed a big striker with those big defenders. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of problems, and it has to get to the point where things are smoothened out and we can just look forward with those performances that we're proud of.
Yeah, I agree. It hasn't been smooth sailing, and I think that especially from last year, it's like. It's like I was thinking, it's almost like that Benjamin Button movie where Benfica was born like mature with Roger Schmidt, and now we've kind of regressed. We're babies almost. Anyway,
no, definitely. But who replaces Roger Schmidt? You know what I mean? Like, who's going to be the next guy to come in?
That's the other thing. That's the other thing.
I guarantee you one thing. I don't know what it is, but I guarantee you it's Portuguese.
Is it?
It's not going to be.
We need someone who could deal with that pressure.
It's not going to be a Estrangeiro again.
No.
It's going to be a Portuguese guy. I don't know. Don't ask me who. But I mean, there's a guy.
That's your feeling, Chris?
I wouldn't mind seeing him.
Who?
I'm sorry.
That's your feeling that it'll be a Portuguese guy?
Yeah, I'm pretty. After all the shenanigans that they've gone through with Roger, I think they're gonna. And again, if they get rid of Roger again, as Hugo said, and we've all spoken here so far on the podcast of, the interview on Mata Mata and the club, the translation, the loss, and the tie with Furio's, okay. They're going to bring someone in that understands what it is to be a manager. I mean, Pico understands the Grandeza, understands the league. Yeah. I think it will be a Portuguese guy. It's just the feeling I have. And when you ask me what Portuguese guy, that's where it gets interesting. A guy that I mentioned this years ago, after I believe Rui Vitória, a guy that I said I wouldn't mind seeing at Benfica is Paulo Fonseca, and he's doing a good job at Lille again. He's a good coach, good solid coach that plays attractive football. I know a lot of you guys will say Silva, whatever over there.
Abel
Palmeiras,
Ferreira,
he's just another
Mourinho,
guy.
and Mark
Pereira,
Silva.
Pereira, same shit.
Some of the names that are coming up.
Yeah, it's too defensive. I don't want him at Benfica. I think
Abel or Mark Silva?
Abel's too defensive.
Yeah,
He wins games, don't get me wrong, but at Benfica, you got to put on a show. It's not just about winning games. You got to put on a show.
Chris Liborio says Mourinho. Brunjil Rodrigues says Mourinho or Mark Silva.
Bro, I'd only take Mourinho for 2 reasons at Benfica. 2 reasons. One is because you put Mourinho at this club, it'll shine the international light at the club. So the attention, I would like that. Okay. The other reason I'd have him on, I'd be glad with him as a, is because it's Stuvalens, my neighbor. You know what I mean? Family's friends with his family, so my neighbor. I'm cool with that.
Chris is neighbors with everybody.
Yeah, it'd be. And look, Dave, my dad played soccer with his dad. You know what I mean? My family's friends with his family, so that'd be a positive.
Yeah.
But dude, his football. I mean, look, let's be honest. He's the type of guy that comes in and whips your fat ass into shape, but then can't take it to the next level, right? I think his football has been outdated. His mentality of us against the world, that worked, and it was a different athlete, different generation back 15, 20 years ago. I think today, a bunch of prima donnas, and I'm sorry to youngsters, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but he himself has said that now, before they even sit in their stools in the locker room, the guys are already on their phones, on social media. It's a different, and I don't think he's in tune with that. And I think he's had a hard time connecting with the players and dealing with the players. And again, his football mentality of parking the bus, it's outdated, man. I mean, that's little team mentality. And I don't think Benfica is a little team. You're not going to go to Studio. You're not going to go to these types of Fia Schaubs and Gil Vicente and park the bus. And I know you Mourinho fans will argue with me that he still holds the record for most goals as at Real Madrid in a single season. And I know he's had productive seasons. I get all that. But, I don't see a Cristiano Ronaldo on this roster. Do any of you guys? At the top of his game. So, look, I wouldn't be – I think Mourinho would turn things into sour real quickly and things could get real nasty. So that's why I wouldn't want it. Paulo Fonseca is my choice. Marco Silva.
Yeah, I would love.
I think he's stagnated. He's stale. He's been at Fulham, and he's.
Yeah.
He hasn't really done anything great. He hasn't. So.
I'd love Fonseca. Josh, man, it was a pleasure having you, man. Thank you very much for.
Yeah, Josh. Hold on,
us,
Alfredo.
man.
Josh, before you go, anything on your mind, Josh? Anything you want to get out? I mean, I know you jumped on, but we asked you the questions. Was there something that you wanted to mention yourself that you had on your mind, or you're cool?
I mean, I've been dwent a little bit with the way we've been reacting on social media, and just after that Port loss, I've been pretty, I've dug a hole and just hibernated in that, if I'm being honest. It was a tough one after losing the Sporting.
Yeah,
the thing that bugged me the most after that Port loss was, why is João Neves the first guy of defense talking in the interview? Why isn't it Otamendi? Why isn't it João Mario? Why isn't it the older guys at the club? Of course, João Neves is unbelievable, playing really good. Why not throw him in there? But it just doesn't make sense when you have all these guys that have all these minutes, all these games, and a lot more mature. Why didn't they speak? Yeah. And then you go on to, we have a blackout on Instagram, on all social. It's just, are we brats? You know what I mean? I just feel like when we're winning, we're in your face, we're making good promo videos, we're doing all this. But when we lose, you know what I mean? I don't like that. I feel like Benfica's the Benfica issues are for the street. We can take that. We soaked all that in. Let's just move on from it, and let's show that we can also, we can dish it out, but we can also take it. That was my big concern.
The communication department is definitely not working well, and I'm sure those guys get paid very well. That social media blackout, that was not acceptable. The whole thing with João Neves that we mentioned here. The captain should have been there. João Mario should have been there because Otamendi saw the red.
Well, the captain got a red card.
Well, but João Mario is a sub-captain.
Yes.
But whatever.
That's why would be my second guy going in there.
Yeah, when something happens to Porto, Pep is the one that shows face.
Exactly, and I think that's the way it should be. The leader of the team takes it, just as if Rui Costa, I don't know why Rui Costa talked, to be honest. Maybe it could have been Schmidt. Maybe, I don't know, man. It was just a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I agree.
It just didn't really sit well with me.
All right, Josh, man, appreciate it, man. Appreciate you coming on, man. There's no need to be nervous, man.
Yeah, man. And this definitely broke the ice for me. I just want to say thank you to all you guys, Alfredo, Dave, and Christian. Thanks for everything. And
course, brother.
Let's hope that we're in the winner's circle.
Yeah.
I'll be in Dublin if we go.
Nice.
That's a far stretch. But I have all my I'm going to Portugal, what is it, May 1st to May 24th. So
there you go.
I booked it just in case we can maybe win the league or something. But then I'm dreaming, right? But it's free to dream. So
yeah, but there's plenty other things
I
to
hope
do
you
in
guys
Portugal.
have a good night.
Yeah.
Correct, Josh. Appreciate it, man.
Exactly.
You too, man.
But I hope
Thank
you guys have a
much.
good night. Thanks for having me on. And
of course.
Força Benfica.
You got it, man.
Correct, Josh.
All right, brother. All right. We got time for one more. I think Libori wanted to come in. Chris, you want to come in? You're posting up the chat, the Zoom link. If you want to come in, just say a few words. It's we're 1 hour and 35. I didn't even say goodbye to Pama Media, Dave. It was right around
too, and we talked about it.
It was right around where Hugo was coming in.
It's okay. With all the excitement of me being back on, I could understand you guys losing control of the time. I understand.
Yeah.
Christian Libori, let's go. Hop on. You say you're hopping on. Let's go, or else I'm going shishikamba. But let's go.
Yeah. Or somebody else wants to drop
Or somebody else, exactly. Any of the Freddies. Smash the like button. Appreciate you listening once again. Dave, your thoughts on Kökçü, man. We haven't heard your thoughts.
Yeah, I thought it was out of line. I know where he's probably coming from, and he's trying to push his narrative that he's not happy and he probably wants out of the club. But I feel like Kökçü is going to be just needed to keep his mouth shut. You see, okay, he's not working out as the number 6, but he's that direct replacement. I feel like when João Neves is, what we all assume is he's going to be leaving this offseason, then you try him at that 8 position where he's more accustomed to playing. But I think this all kind of throws a wrench into that,
yep.
those plans there. But
yep.
We'll see what happens.
Chris,
He's not even that position.
You guys
Dave.
hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you.
All right, good.
We hear you, bro. Ainda não cortaram a internet na tua casa.
Não, estava aqui a desligar o YouTube so it wouldn't echo.
Yeah, what's happening, brother? How you been?
Chilling, man. How you guys doing? All right?
Good, man. Can't complain. What's on your mind?
Living the dream, man. Living the dream.
Living the dream. Dude, how and I watched a little bit, man, but I felt for you that show with Bruno after the 5-0 defeat, bro. That must have been tough.
Dude, man, tell me about it. It was just it was right after that we had the performance with the team prior, which wasn't great. Sporting, so
yeah.
it was definitely a rough showing, like 2 games in a row, man. There was really nothing to say at that point, you know?
Yeah, for
and then that was the day with the fiasco of João Neves being the one to talk to the press and not a leader, so I got thrown that one too. It was bad, man.
Yeah. For you guys that don't know, Chris does a live on Facebook show every Monday.
Alfredo, you have to specify. You
about
have to say Christian Libori. There's 2 Chris's, 2 Christians.
Yeah, but people know that you don't do any of the shows but this one. That's why. But Cristiano Libori does
exclusive.
Right, he does every Monday night live on Facebook. Him, a guy from Sporting, a guy from Braga, a guy from Porto. They do a great show in Portuguese. What's it? Is it Goal In?
Yeah, it's called Goal In.
Goal In, right.
We do it live on Facebook, as you said. Something's going on with IG. I don't know. The page is there, but the lives are through Facebook, and then we share it to all the Portuguese community outlets.
Yeah. So what's on your mind, man?
Man, I was just listening to the conversation. You know, the coaching options that we might have. I guess we're already writing off Schmidt permanently, huh?
I mean, look, whether we're writing them off or not, I think you got to prepare, right, for a rainy day.
Yeah.
Prepare it. They just, man, I'm gonna throw it back to last season when we extended his contract. I mean, I think I expressed it. I think I was on the show like one of those days shortly after that, Man, I don't understand why that was done. And I think that was the Achilles heel, man. I think if we go back after that, we had a downhill of performances.
Yeah,
we signed them. We re-signed them on a high. We gave him the extension, and then the results after that, none of the results came. It was terrible.
Yeah, I thought the timing was bad, but I understood the logic at the time because there were some coaching positions that were coming open. People were taking a very long look at Schmidt because of what Benfica was doing at the time. And I think the thought behind it was to protect him. But I think that Rui Costa was a little bit inexperienced in terms of the way he approached it. He could have had a conversation with Schmidt to say, look, we want you to be here, and we'll renew at the end of the season. I just thought that the timing was really shitty. And it was right after he signed that things kind of went south after that, and they haven't been the same since.
Yeah, the money they gave him, they should have given it to Enzo Fernandez to stay another couple of years.
He didn't want to stay, Chris.
He was already gone at that point.
Don't even get me started on that guy. Don't even get me started on him.
But it's facts. He left. Nunca mais jogamos igual, bro. That's a fact. That's why I'm being facetious.
I would say something else. The money that we spent on all these new guys, they should have just paid Grimaldo. I think he was on the fence of staying or not.
He didn't want to be here either.
I don't think he wanted to be here. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think.
But Alfredo, remember one thing. Alfredo, remember one. And I know this is what Cristiano was going to say. Yeah, money talks. Money talks. That's what I was going to say. Money. It's one thing. We didn't put the money on the table. Stay here for $2 million. It's another thing. Stay here for $15 million. Right? It's two different conversations. But yeah,
and I'm going to be honest. Guys. I think that's what we're lacking. We're lacking that offensive and defensive security. And I would even throw in Gonçalo Ramos in that. We haven't found a replacement for him, and we've tried five times.
Chris, you're right. But here's the thing. You're 100% correct, right? But here's the thing I wanna highlight here, right? Which is we keep talking about Grimaldo because we've done such a terrible job replacing him. Because if we'd gotten an adequate, I'm not even saying a star, but an adequate left back, we wouldn't be talking about him. And the other thing with Gonçalo Ramos, you're 100% correct. I'm not taking anything you're saying away, right? But the fact is that, and I hate to do this, Dave's going to kill me, right? Because I'm always beating out freaking Roger. But Gonçalo Ramos was key in the system that Roger Schmidt emphasized and applied last year with the first line of pressure. And this is the thing that I keep going back to in conversations with people that are just all of a sudden disrespecting a player such as Di Maria, which I think Benfica should all be thankful that a player of his caliber with his resume had a consideration of picking. Nobody forced him. He chose to come to Benfica. And I wish more Di Marias would join Benfica in the future. And I think what they're doing to him is totally disrespect. But that's besides the point. Let's get back onto track here. I think Roger Schmidt has to adapt his system, and he has it. And you're right. The Gonçalo Ramos was the perfect fit for this roster. But then Roger Schmidt signed off, Chris, on the Cabral purchase, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
totally.
He got it wrong. Hold on, he got it wrong. And then he went and bought the kid who, what's his name? Oh my God, Marcos Leonardo, who's scoring goals, but he's another guy that doesn't have the characteristics of a pressing forward. And so what we see is a tank stat who doesn't have the quality being a Benfica, being a starter. And again, as I said before, when I don't know if it was Josh or whomever was on, it's the error in casting. And it's mistake, compounded by mistake. And it's just, when is this going to stop?
I don't think it is. We're going to have to go look for players again in this summer window, man.
Yep.
No, but again, Chris, looking and repeating the same mistake. If you don't know what the hell you're shopping for, it's just going to be a revolting door, right? Of mistake after mistake after mistake. That's my point. My point is, when is it going to stop? When are we finally going to get people in the house or the decision makers that know what the hell they're doing? Because you look at every single player, with the exception of Aursnes now at this point, and Trubin, I guess, right? But everything, Enzo was the one key that was a perfect fit. Everything else that we've seen, at least in this season, it's been a miss, bro. Who the hell's making these decisions? Whomever it is, they need to take the keys away from this guy because he's drunk.
Well, do you think that was a clause in the renewal contract that Roger Schmidt will have like a lot of say on who
The
he
say?
gets?
Probably one of the stipulations.
I
Because
think
look,
I think
if
so.
you guys recall, Chris, Dave, Alfredo, and Freddie, if you guys recall, which is something I mentioned here on the podcast, I vividly remember, and Alfredo, you'll remember because I had this conversation with you on air and off air, which was when Rui Costa did that with the shit that he does all the time. What's it called after the transfer window? You know what
Transfer
I'm talking
recap.
about?
Yeah,
Where
the
he comes-
recap. Yeah.
The recap. And remember, Alfredo, I said, it sounds to me Rui Costa's washing his hands because everything he said, o treinador escolheu, o treinador aprovou. And Chris, that goes to answer your question when one of the stipulations and him resigning was I have a say in the ingredients that I'm buying for my kitchen, for my cooking recipe, right?
I said that on the show
because
too,
Rui
man.
Costa,
I think so.
okay.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, bro, the guy was Rui Costa was washing his hands.
Yeah.
You remember I had that conversation with you, Alfredo?
Yeah, because I think that he was really he was being questioned at the time in terms of the players that had been brought, and to his defense, he's like, everything that we brought in was signed off by the coach. The only one that I question whether it was signed off by the coach or not was Di Maria. I think everyone else was a request from Roger Schmidt. Maybe Marcos Leonard either. But I thought that everyone else, Cabral, Jurasek, I mean, you name it. It was all...
Cajeras was
yeah.
Roger Smith's choice too.
Yep. And, I feel bad for Carreras because it's a young kid, still got a lot to learn. And the thing is that he's not ready for this pressure. He probably could have gotten somebody internally in the Portuguese league that could have done an okay job, could have just done enough. And we wouldn't have been in a situation where we're at right now, where we're playing with Auschwitz, we're playing with Morato, But
on a positive
I
note,
heard
since we're
Bernat
talking about left back,
just joined.
That's what I was going to say. On a positive note, since we're talking about left back, Bernat today was at practice. It looks like he's recovered from his surgery. And look, crucial part of the season is coming up. I don't think he's playing this week already, because Roger Schmidt likes to slow play these guys. Yeah. But yeah, look, he could be a key addition here. I mean, you're talking about a veteran, national team player, Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain, guy with tremendous history. Guys played at the highest of competitions. Obviously, pressure's not going to get to him. Could be a key addition here down the line. I only hope so, and I hope that he's healthy. Even with him, Schmidt plays him.
But even with him, man, he came off the deal with Gonçalo Ramos. Did he really choose him to be part of that deal, or were they like, oh, listen, we have these
I would
five
think so.
players available?
I would think yes, and he chose which one. Yeah, I would think so. Look, we have these five players.
He chose another one that didn't.
But I mean, look again. Let's not sit here and put the blame. But yeah, man, I like to think the coach had a say in that. You know what I mean? It goes hand in hand.
We got to blame somebody, man. Even the dude that was talking earlier on what he said about the Benfica Porto perspective, man. It's like Porto gets these players to come in and they have that like alma, man, to like they might be in third, they might be in fourth, but they're not losing against Benfica. And let's not forget, we already won a Taça this year, right? We beat Porto to win the Super Taças. So we did something. But man, I don't see that rage in their eyes, man. That Super Saiyan. I don't know. I liked what I don't remember who spoke, but
Hugo.
Yeah, it was Hugo, man. I agree with what he said. It's like, how are we not injecting this?
Agora amanhã o gajo não vai poder entrar no carro. A cabeça do gajo vai ser.
Yeah,
but man, I'm gonna go back to this Kökçü thing, if you guys don't mind.
No. Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing that I also mentioned on the show that I do, and I brought up the whole Cabral thing, flipping the bird right to the fans. Like, there's a difference between a reaction and something that you do intentionally, right? So, reacting to the fans, having an emotional outburst, stuff like that happens. Everyone that's played has had those moments that you look back and you're like, damn, I definitely shouldn't have done that, But over here, Kökçü, man, like he thought about this, like these newspaper. It was a Dutch newspaper, right? I'm sure the Dutch newspaper didn't reach out to him because they were looking at him like, oh, how do you feel about this transfer that you made to Benfica? I'm pretty sure there was some push on his end to get this
from his
interview
agent.
out.
Yeah, his agent
Like,
tried to clear his image.
This
That
is
was a
nuts,
message
man.
purposely.
Yeah.
This is nuts,
Agreed.
and we can't even put him on the same pedestal as Ronaldo and what Ronaldo did for Man U. There was like history there,
Right.
Kökçü, what he did, he definitely wants out. It's tough for me. I even said it on the chat, man. As like a coach, and I've coached a lot in my life. It's very difficult to play him again. After what he said, he didn't just bring down the coach, man. He said Benfica didn't make me feel welcomed. He put the name of the club.
Right.
He didn't just say the coach, man. I mean, it's very difficult for me to see him playing in that shirt again. It's tough, and I can't even put it into words. And as a person that's grew up Benfica and seen great players and great moments, even though I'm still waiting for that European Cup moment in my lifetime, but. Man, I don't know. I don't know if he plays, and I already wrote.
Bro,
it,
I'm
man.
not
Like,
defending the guy,
you bring-
Chris. I'm not.
I know.
Chris,
Yeah.
hold on. I'm not defending the guy, but when you think about a record transfer fee for a
Yes.
player, and he's expecting, again, these are like you and I, when we dreamt as little kids of being presentados in front of a full stadium. The guy's expected to be presented to the stadium, and no, they did it in a press conference. I mean, the guy's like, yo, wait a minute. I'm your record. You've been blowing me to sign with you guys. And then we have a press conference. And, I mean, that could be stuff that the player was let down.
Yeah.
And again, like, I think, look, man, he's going to say what he has to say. I think his agent had a lot to say because he's trying to clear his name. And Chris, man, like, I disagree with you in terms of playing him because there's going to be one conclusion here, right? Either the coach goes and a new coach comes in and brings his value because Benfica is not going to want to lose $30 million investment in this, bro.
No, totally. I agree
They're going
with
to
you
have
on
to
that
clean
too.
this up. They're going to have to clean this up. And the player's going to have to play. But under this coach, will he get the maximum out of it? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But they can't just all of a sudden, do what teams. Remember, I think it was Sporting and Benfica that had guys practicing. You looked that up. Go ahead, bro. Go practice on your own at the beach and come back in a few years. You can't do that because now you lose all value in the $30 million that you just invested, bro.
Dude,
So
but then
situation.
another thing, Chris, you and everyone on the show, not just Chris, obviously you're the one talking now, but man, you bring in this guy with this record signing. But did we forget that we have João Mario that plays in a similar position as he does? You're gonna have to sit one down. He's tried games that he played with both of them that obviously has not worked. So what was your plan?
Chris, but for me, that's an easy answer. Chris. It's easy. Once you spend $30 million on, I don't care if it's you, me, whomever. You spent $30 million. That's priority. That's it.
I know, but now you go to that whole. But now you go to that whole Balneario situation that you guys were talking about. The reason why he hasn't lost the Balneario, and I agree totally. I don't remember who mentioned that, is because certain players are playing a lot, and João Mario is one of those.
Yeah, but look, man. Again, professional soccer players. And you're right, and Alfredo made that point earlier. But professional soccer players get paid to play to play. They get paid to follow order, whether it's to play or to sit. And if you're not performing at the top level, there's always a chance that there's a Kökçü coming in, or there's so and so coming in. That's the world of sport. It's cutthroat.
Yeah, but there's a lot of
So
egos
you don't want
also,
to be benched,
Chris. There's a lot of egos
Alfredo,
that come into play.
but you don't want to be benched for somebody. Play your ass off. That's it.
but then that's not what happened, right? He came in, he played with both of them. I think sometimes Roger Smith too. I don't know if he realizes that you can only play with 11 on the field. Because a lot of the guys that he gets,
he only plays with the same 13, Chris. It's all the same 13. That's the problem.
The substitutions at the 75th minute and two guys
Yeah.
at the 90 plus.
the 85th minute. The 85th minute subs killed me.
Yeah,
Man.
it's just look. I think that, as I mentioned earlier, I think that there was some frustration. There were some things that were promised, and the guy really feels that he hasn't been put in a position where he could give his contribution to the team in a manner that for the money that the team paid for him. So the team paid a lot of money, record signing, right? So he's one of those guys that feels the pressure in a positive way and wants to use the pressure in a way that's going to motivate him to do well for this team. But if he feels that he's been playing out of position, then he really feels that he hasn't been put in the best position to give his all, his best. I don't know.
And I think we all can agree on that.
Yeah, I think the timing sucks. I think the way he did it sucks. But I think it speaks of desperation. It speaks of a guy that has had conversations internally, which he admitted that he's already had, and it speaks to about a guy that feels that his back is against the wall, and if he doesn't say something, nothing is going to get done. And whether he continues at Benfica or whether he gets sold, I think that he felt that he needed to give this interview, and he knew exactly what the consequences were going to be. With the interview.
100%.
Look, I think Chris mentions when Benfica purchased them, they should have remembered that they had the likes of João Mario on the roster, right? I think
which was also a big signing
wasn't
for what it was, right? It was a big signing because of the whole Sporting thing.
Controversial. It was more controversial,
right?
Yes,
but it was a big. It was a big thing.
I think Benfica, and I'll speak for I wasn't expecting. I think Benfica didn't know they had a monster in their hands in João Neves. I think that's what fucked up this whole thing.
Yeah.
Was João Neves all of a sudden? Like, they knew he was good, but not
another wrench.
The kid.
That is.
Yes. I think João Neves fucked the whole thing up. That's what I think.
And once he came in.
I mean, the kid is playing to a level. Yeah.
Once he came in and he demonstrated that he could play with the big boys, you weren't going to cut his legs. You're going to have to let him go.
He played at the end last year. But we still had question marks in the offseason if he could do it on a consistent basis in 36 games. And he's supplanted that. He's exceeded expectations. And then Benfica like, whoa.
Yeah, and in the same manner, in the same manner that Antonio Silva came in, because Antonio Silva wasn't even scheduled or planned to be a starter. He just happened to catch a break with that Verissimo injury, and once he went in, that was it. It was all over.
Yeah.
Well, you could even throw another wrench in that, man. Like with this whole thing, like imagine that we did get a solid left back or right back that Orange didn't need to be filling in and covering holes.
Yeah, and then what?
Now you have Orange. He'd be a right back. He'd be a right back.
He'd probably be a right back. Yeah, because
and you know what?
Listen, a big thing last year was Orange in the midfield, man.
He killed it too. Made a mistake too. Arsenal's got acostumado playing every position that he thought he was playing goalie last week. When he caught the ball in the, you know what I mean? Like, my man's like, so falta jogar guarda-redes. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think he would have been at right back, Chris. If there was a solid left back, he would have been at right back.
All right.
Well, we got these two games coming up, man. These two Sporting games, and I honestly think that these two are going to be make and break for certain players on this team, for the coach. Like, I think the results are going to dictate what we're going to see in the next couple of months and what's going to happen in the summer. Yeah, hands down. These two games.
It's definitely going to be decision this couple weeks, decision weeks.
Here's a question for all three of you guys. Dave, I'm gonna start with you, Dave. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm gonna start with Dave because I love you. Dave, does he go into Alvalade? Not the Thursday game or Tuesday game because that's at home, but the Saturday game. Does he go into Alvalade without a striker?
No, he can't do that shit again.
It's anybody's guess. It's anybody's guess. Nobody can get that lineup right.
Okay, I know, Alfredo, but I'm asking. Wanted to see if does he go back to that shit with no striker?
Yeah.
I mean, because it hasn't worked out.
All right, brothers. We're coming up on 2 hours, man. We still gotta post this shit.
Yeah, I got a massive headache. I gotta go to sleep.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thanks for hopping, man. As always, thank you for your
problem,
support.
Man. Abraço a vocês, bro.
Igual. Dave, always a pleasure, brother.
Good to be back.
Later, Chris. Later, everyone.
Take care, guys. Later. Appreciate you, Freddy. Thank you, guys. Smash the like button.
Yeah, we'll be back next week at the regular scheduled program. Later.